With the 2015 season just around the corner, we had a chance to sit down with head coach Caleb Porter to talk about the Timbers roster additions and managing the upcoming season.
Well, I think if you look at, again, the way we were playing at the end of the year, we want to try to build on that and get into that form at the beginning of the year. Ultimately, we made a few changes, but not much. So the core that we had on the field at the end of the year, when we were defending well, putting up clean sheets and scoring goals, and looking organized and getting results, 3 points in most games, that's really the team that we kept intact and the core that we kept intact to start the year. We obviously added a goalkeeper and a central defender, 2 very experienced players. But other than that, there's not many changes. A few other guys, depth pieces like an Espria and a Janderson. But for the most part, the lineup's going to look very similar, and I think that will help us get off to a good start. I think year 3, it's another year, build another layer on the team, but ultimately, if you look around the league, the best teams, they build for 3-4 years, they keep a core intact, they flip a few pieces, not many, but we're in that 3rd year, and we're finally getting to the point where we have a strong core that's capable of consistently getting results.
Speaking of the core, 2 of the core pieces of the team, Will Johnson, Diego Valeri, are both, in recovering right now from injuries. How are you going to manage the midfield at the beginning of the season without them?
Well, the nice thing is we've already managed it in some games. We've had Valeri out, I think it's 8 or 9 games since he's been here. Obviously, we're a team that's very good with him in there. But if you build your team the right way and you have depth, in the game of soccer, one player, being out shouldn't impact your team because you have 11 pieces on the field. But we will miss him. We won't replace him because Valeri's one of the best players in the league and he's very unique. But we have other players to help us manage while he's out. Will Johnson, same thing. He obviously broke his leg, I believe with 4 or 5 games to go. And we plugged in Ben Zemansky, and we did very well. So again, you don't replace a Will and a Valeri, but we have depth, and we've proven that we can get results with top players out, like Valeri and Will Johnson. I mean, obviously, we're preparing with those guys being out, so that's going to be a big part of our preseason, is to get our lineup set. But there won't be many mysteries because we've already done things with those guys out before. And if you start adding up who's going to be on the field most likely to start the year, it's about 9 guys with a few new pieces and a Nat Borchers and an Adam. We won't play exactly the same way with Gaston if he's in there. We'll play more of a 4-4-2, so we'll slightly adjust our formation. We'll still play with 2 center mids, but we'll push him a little higher because he's more of a second striker than he is a number 10 creative playmaker. And so we'll flatten him out with the other striker and adjust a little bit to his personality so that we can get a little bit more success based on what he brings to the table. The other option we could go with is Darlington Nagbe as the second forward or 10 and an Espria perhaps on the wing. So that's another combination. Or we could go with a Maxi and an Adi and play a 4-4-2. So that's kind of in a 1-2-3 order what we're looking at. Pretty much in priority of how we're thinking things are going to play out.
Talent's obviously important, but you've said many times that character and creating our locker room full of the guys you want on your team is just as important. Can you talk about the mentality in the locker room and what you look for?
Well, you look at, again, teams around the league, the ones that are successful, they always have a really strong locker room and a good culture in their club, and it comes from experience and leadership, and you need to get the right pieces in the locker room, and you need to predict how the personalities are going to shake out. There's such a thing as having too many leaders, and there's such a thing as obviously having not enough experience in leadership. So you need to get the right mix, and ultimately you need good professionals, guys with character, guys with winning qualities. There are a lot of good players out there. Ultimately, in my locker room, I want guys that, in the trenches with me that I respect and that I believe in and that I trust. Guys that I know game in and game out, day in and day out, they have those intangible qualities. And I think that's crucial and a big reason why last year, when we went through rough patches, we didn't lose the group. We didn't lose the locker room. They stayed on board because they're good professionals. They kept fighting. They never quit. They never pointed fingers at each other, myself. I didn't point fingers at them. And that's how we dug ourselves out of the hole, where a lot of other teams who had poor starts, the wheels fell off and their seasons were done. And that's something I'm very proud of, even though we didn't make the playoffs. And I think in year 2 of my taking over the team and now going into year 3, we've become a stronger team. We know we can go through anything. We know this team can win games, but we also know we can get through rough patches, and I know that I can lead a group through that as well, which has been a real positive in my coaching evolution also.